Hello, welcome to my video today. So today I have thought about taking everybody kind of step by step through my process and how I design jewelry. So as you can see here in front of me, I have a decent supply of lake stones. Each of these my wife and I have found on Lake Ontario, and our selection process, it isn't anything really challenging. We just go through and see what looks pretty, regardless of the stone type. And there are some stones I do prefer carving. I think the carving sandstones is a little bit easier, so today I'm going to keep that in mind. So first thing I see here is this piece of sandstone. Has some interesting character to it already. It's not too bad. I'm going to set that aside. That might be something I work with today. Here's another piece of the quartz sandstone. This one's got even better color. I like this whole pattern thing it's got going on here. That might be something else I'm going to set aside here. And if I go through here, see what else we got here. It's like it got some people call this zebra jasper, some people call it lightning stone. It's either quartz or calcite veins running through the stone there. Got a little piece of concrete in there. And this here, yeah, some people might be quick to jump and say this could be granite, but depending on how it works, this might also be appreciated jasper. So I'll have to take a look at that and see. Scan it on down through here, see what else I got that I like to look at. Every one of these stones is beautiful in its own right. Like this one here. It's got some gorgeous little pockets of quartz throughout it. This is most likely quartzite. Oh, that is pretty. So we'll set that down with the ones we want to look through a little closer. Now let's see what else we got here that I want to work with. Oh, hey, here's some fossils. I can make a nice little keychain out of that. Pretty simple to do too. All I gotta do is just split the stone and make a really nice keychain with that side. You can't polish these that well because you will polish out these fossils. They're right on the surface. So you gotta be careful with that. But I might make a keychain out of that there. Set that aside there. That might be our project for today. What else we got in here? The thing else that I really want to just pull out and work on. Every one of these eventually will get turned into something. That's a pretty color right there too. Don't want to work on that one today though. Let's see what else we got down in here. Trying to keep in mind also how much work is going to be involved in doing whatever project is going to be done with it. I don't want to make this video 7 hours long. Oh, this is nice. It's got some pinks in there. It's kind of like a pudding stone. Could be a lot of work on that one though. All right, well, I'm just going to take these 5 that I've got here, and I'm going to move these over to my little mini workbench that I've got set up in my house here. Okay, so now that I'm over at my little work area, you see I got a whole bunch of tools around here. And this is just a portion of what I usually use. I got kind of like my storage area over there. That's kind of a mess, so I'm not going to show that on camera for too long. But this is where, yeah, what the heck. This is where I put extra tools, my books, and things that I will use, plus a lot of stones. This bag here is full of stones. There's this stone here, which we found on the lake the other day. It's a gorgeous stone. It looks like a painting, and my wife and I were looking at it thoroughly, and it actually looks like a painting of a lake scene. The lake, a boat, there's even a house and a bridge. And then this could be the silhouette of a person looking out over the lake. That's gorgeous. That rock, could be millions of years old for all we know. It's just beautiful. So back to the workbench here. Of course, got my industrial sized coffee. A little bit more rocks here. These are some other projects that I got going on. Those stones will be turned into something as well. Then over here, right next to it, I've got my rotary tools and this little fountain set up for when I need to cut underwater. Of course, right over here, I got my extra grinders and all of my sanding supplies. All right, so this is just a little sneak peek of what I got in the shop. Of course, as you can see, I got a whole ton of diamond bits there, and pliers, all the tools you need if you're going to be working in this kind of stonework. And of course, laid out in front of me, the 5 stones that we picked out. So of this, we got 2 that are quartz sandstone right there. I got 1 possible jasper. It may also be a granite with a high quartz. I'm gonna have to test the hardness on that to tell for sure. Or once I start putting a polish on it or cutting it, I'll really know. And then I've got this quartzite. That's going to look gorgeous once it's polished. And then I've got this nice little fossil. Definitely that side there's got more fossils to it. So I think for today's video, I'm going to cut this fossil and possibly make a little keychain. Something like that. We'll go ahead and put a keychain on this, maybe make a little handmade swivel. Keep it interesting. But this might be today's little project, or at least the project for this video. All right. Well, let's get started. Important safety tip here first. The stones that I'm cutting, they're not generally dangerous stones. However, anything that contains quartz also has silica. Silica does not do good things to your lung if you breathe it in large amounts. So your lungs need to be protected by some sort of a mask. A respirator, or like an N95 like I have here, just something to keep the stuff out of your lungs. Also, eye protection. Now, I will use multiple kinds of eye protection. For most of my small work, I just have my reading glasses here, and these may not be the absolute greatest, but they do protect my eyes. A lot of times when I am using the tools, I will put on some actual goggles, especially up in the bigger workshop where I have more powerful tools that are cutting larger stones, or sometimes I will use regular safety glasses down here like I'm going to be using while cutting this stone. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so I may not have the world's most elaborate setup, but it works for me for the time being. Who knows? Maybe if the jewelry becomes more popular, more people start purchasing it, I'll get some more money to invest in better equipment. But for the time being, I make do with what I got. So in order to cut this, I'm going to use a rotary tool with a larger diamond blade on it. This diamond blade's about an inch and a half across or so. And there's our fossil stone. So, interest of saving time, I'm going to be periodically throughout the video speeding up and trying to get more things put into less time on the video. So, we're going to get started. Okay, so I cut our fossil and I used the blade to kind of smooth out the other side. We got a couple of little nicks and dents there. All right, so fossil's been cut. Got a really nice side here with all these little fossils on it. A little smoother side here. Still see some of the fossils coming through it. This whole stone was loaded. And then, well, I can either go right from here to start working on making it into a keychain, or I could bring it over and use one of my grinders to try and smooth it out a little bit. Now on these grinders, I have discs, and this is a 600 grit here. I would use this before I go to sandpaper. I have a 400 on the other, and then on my automatic sanders, I've got some 220 grit, and I also have some 1500 grit sandpaper. In the pile of the hand sandpaper, I have stages of grit going all the way from 220 to 2200. So, but when it comes to a keychain like this, the back on this, or the front on this, is going to be the fossil. That's going to be the key. That's what I want everybody to look at. The back is not so important, and I don't have to make it like shine brightly, but I do want to make sure that it is smooth. So I'm going to give it a quick little shot with the grinder here, making sure we keep our safety equipment on, and use the grinder. Alright, as far as making a keychain is concerned, as I said earlier, not a whole heck of a lot goes into it. You can see this little container I have with water and a little piece of wood in the bottom. Well, that is how I make the holes in the keychain. So I will take a rotary tool, and I'm going to put a diamond drill bit in the rotary tool. I'm going to put it on kind of a slow speed. I don't want to shatter the stone. And I also don't want to burn out my drill bit. I want to make sure that the hole I put through is going to be large enough to fit any wire or any kind of wrap that I plan on doing here. So I'm not going to go with, you know, a super tiny drill bit. Put this one on there, and that's just about 1/8 of an inch. So get that tightened up in there. I always use a pair of vice grips. Make sure that it's nice and tight. I've had instances before where these things have slipped out. Move my lamp here a little bit so I can get my head in here. Okay, so now I have our hole through. There's not a lot of stone holding here, so I'm not going to put the keychain right on through here, the split ring for the keychain. I'm not going to put it directly through the stone because that will break right off. So I'm going to put a small wrap of wire, give it almost kind of a bail here, and then I'm going to attach it to a swivel. And the swivel is going to allow it to move freely. So the keychain will hang like that, and it can swivel right around. So, all right. Now, time to move over to my working table. Now let's build a swivel and then put our keychain together. Might give this a little bit of a brushing and gentle polishing, as I said earlier. Okay, so now that we have our hole drilled and our stone is drying off, take a little toothbrush, make sure we get all the dust off of this. Don't want to go too hard because you can destroy those fossils. So you want to be kind of gentle with your stones. Here's the back of it. Not too bad. We'll finish cleaning this up here in a little bit. However, right now, I need to make a way to attach this to this split ring in order to make my keychain. Now, I could just put the keychain right on through it and call it a day. However, if you see here, that will eventually break as soon as somebody does that. And that's not what I want. I mean, I want the jewelry to last. That's part of, you know, the beauty of having this is something that you can keep around for a little while. You know, this is a conversation starter. Somebody looks at this and goes, oh wow, what a beautiful keychain. You know, are those real fossils? And you can be, yes they are, and you can show them. I believe these are actually cephalopoid fossils. I'm not a paleontologist or anything like that. I'm not even a geologist. I'm just an artist who makes jewelry. So I do the best I can with what I got. All right, so I'm going to set this aside for a little while. And let's talk about making that swivel. Well, hey, look at that runaway bead. All right, well, I have 2 glass beads. I can get the other one here that ran away on me. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay. So there's 2 glass beads. Other tools I have, split ring pliers. They're going to be for this split ring. I'll set those aside for right now. Don't need them. Baling pliers. They're going to help me make the loops that are going to work with the swivel here. So I'll set that aside for a moment. Flush cutters. A good pair of flush cutters is a necessity. A nice strong pair, preferably. Unfortunately, these things are a little bit expensive, so I keep buying the cheaper ones. And honestly, had I bought the expensive ones, I wouldn't be on my 6th pair of flush cutters this year. So we'll go with that. I have round nose pliers. This pair is very, very old. However, I like it because it's squared off here, and that gives me a little bit more meat for turning heavier gauge wires. Then I got chain nose pliers here. Chain nose, they call them such because they are rounded around the outside here just a little bit. It's kind of difficult to see. And flat on the inside. Some people will call these tweezer pliers. Most jewelers will call them chain nose. And then this is a bead reamer. Bead reamer is used for cleaning out the beads. And I have here this little turquoise bead. You can see, put it on there and make sure the hole is nice and clean and ready for you to work with. These 2 glass beads here should be just fine. I think I'm actually going to use that turquoise and somehow. Then, last but not least, and I'm not going to show the brand name, I have 20 gauge. This is a silver colored wire. It is copper. It is not quite dead soft. This has got a little bit of firmness to it. That dead soft would be nice to work with, but it wouldn't hold up to the swivel. So you got to have something not hard, but in the middle. You want to be able to work with it a little bit better. So yeah, this is it is a type of beading wire, and this is 20 gauge, like I said. So you can find this at a lot of different hobby stores. So to start off, I want to take a little bit more than I'm probably going to need, but I'm going to take some wire off the spool here. I'm going to go with, I don't know, about 5 inches or so. Use my flush cutters. And get right in there. I'm going to take another 5 or so inches. All right. Now the type of swivel I'm going to make here, how do I best describe it? I was trying to figure out how to make swivels by hand. I don't like purchasing the manufactured ones, even though some of them look really, really nice. It takes away from my element of everything that I do being handmade. I don't like to use anybody else's work, and very rarely will I even use, such things as pre-made beads or anything like that. If I can't tumble them and shape them, then I generally don't use them, at least not for the jewelry that I'm making and putting up on the Grindstone Creek Jewelry. This is almost strictly stones that were found in and about Lake Ontario, like this one here. So I'm going to go with this here, this piece of wire, and I think I'm going to shape this into kind of a horseshoe here in a bit in order to make what I want. So first things I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my pliers here, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of a bend, not quite 45, maybe 35 or so. A little bit more. There we go. Just leave myself a little bit of wire on the end there. I don't have to go too much. Trying to do everything on camera here. That's the most difficult part of this. And we'll go about a little less than halfway down those pliers. I'm going to bend that right over. And keep bending right there until I'm touching. You can see what I got there. Nice little loop. Can make a head pin out of this if I wanted to. I want to bring this loop right around, just like so. I'm going to grab these chain nose. I want to hold it steady while I wrap that little end right up around there. I have a second pair of chain nose I'm going to use here. This is a very old pair. I normally use these when I'm torching. That's why they got some rust on them. And I'm going to take my newer ones here and spin that wire right around. Again, seems like the hardest thing I'm doing is trying to keep everything on camera. Make that nice and tight, back on camera. Okay, make sure nothing's going to snag on my skin, like it is right there. Squeeze it in if I can't. I will use a file. A file like this, or you can use an emery board or type of nail file there. And file that edge so it's not cutting your finger. The last thing you want is a customer to get hurt on a piece of your jewelry. All right. So now that I have that there, I want to go, let's say probably about 2 inches or so. Let me actually get a ruler here. A lot of things I do by eye, but when it comes to making these swivels, I kind of want to make sure that I get everything right. So I give myself about 3/4 of an inch to wrap another end like that, and that'll give me about 2 inches of playable space there. And now, get my flush cutters, and I want to make sure that my squared off side is facing the area that I'm working. You notice on flush cutters, got this taper here, and then the flat flush area. The flat flush area you want on the area that's going to be on the piece of jewelry itself. The taper can go away, and if you have to, like making jump rings or whatever, you want to make sure that you go back and cut every one twice to make sure you got that flush. Today we're not making jump rings. Today I'm making a swivel to put onto that lovely little keychain. So now we're going to come back down here about that 3/4 of an inch. Do the same thing I did before. Except this time I'm going to do a little faster. If I could still try to keep it on camera, that would be nice. Another way to spin these around, hold on to it with your pliers like I'm doing here. And then bend it right around. Be careful, because I have more often than not pushed a piece of wire directly into my finger, and that hurts when it happens. So you don't want to do that all the time, for sure. Back to this. Get my old rusty pliers here on camera. Try to get focus. And then once again, come in and bend that wire right around. Now, if you end up with more loops, you can go ahead and cut it, but I was able to get this to go exactly the way I wanted it to. I'll use my file again here. Alright, it's not snagging on my skin. I'm not bleeding. That's always a good thing. Got me a wooden dowel here. Let's see, what size are you, wooden dowel? You are 3/8. Do I have anything a little bit larger? Let's see what I got hanging over here. Well, it looks like this is going to be made with the 3/8 today. Must have set my dowel somewhere else there. Or, that's what I'm doing. Instead of using a dowel, this is a ring mandrel. You can buy a ring mandrel at just about any place that sells crafting supplies or beading or jewelry, you name it. You can always get one. So now what I would like to do is get in here and shape this wire. And I'll make sure these two line up. Okay. And if I were making this into a ring, which I'm not, that would be roughly a size 3.5. Trying to make it even all the way around. That way I kind of end up with a little horseshoey thing looking here. And now that I have my horseshoe, go in here to the wire that I twisted, and I'm going to bend this right in approximately 90 degrees. And I'm going to go back to this other side, and I'm going to do the same thing there, roughly 90 degrees. Pinch them, and I'm going to make sure that they are lining up. like so. All right. That looks pretty darn good. Now let's set that little piece aside for the moment. Get a sip of coffee and work on the next part. So with my next piece of wire here, I'm going to make the base of the swivel. This is the top of the swivel. This is what our keychain is going to hook onto now. I can put that on there now, but it would be in the way of working. But I'll use my split ring pliers here a little bit, and I'll slide this right on there, and that'll attach to that. And this will hang down, and our stone will be down here. All right, set that aside. Next, we got these two little beads and this nice little piece of turquoise. And you know what I'm thinking about? I want to get a third bead. So let me turn around to my bead box. And grab bead number 3. All right. So at this point, I need to make a little spiral on the end. I'm going to go right to the end on the smallest part of my pliers and try to make a nice tight little spiral. So I got a nice little tight spiral there, and I want to make that even better. So I'll use a chain nose to hold it nice and tight, and I want to fold it in and around. We get a couple of loops here. Make sure that the wire is not laying underneath the other wire, it's rolling right with the spiral. Okay. And we'll go right about there. And nice. All right. So I'm going to pinch this with my chain nose pliers here. Good grip on it. I'm going to bend that wire back. Like so. Then pinch it right there, bend it all the way under again. I'm going to grab it right in the middle there, and I'm going to bend it back to straight. So it gives me kind of that looking thing there. Then close that up, and now I've got kind of a head pin looking thing centered. That's what I want. Nice little spiral. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it. There we go. All right. Then we're going to put one of our glass beads on. And my piece of turquoise. And then another glass bead. Okay. So that's looking pretty darn good there. And this was just me making sure that this is gonna slide the way I want it to, not get stuck. And we'll take those off again. And here's the tricky part. Gotta go through this glass bead here. And then through both of those loops we made on that horseshoe. So that'll leave us like that. Now, this is where the extra glass bead comes in. Putting our beads back on. If I can get it to line up. And there we go. Now we have a swivel. All right. So now just attaching this to our stone. That'll be part number 2 here. Or 200, depending on how you're counting. Bend that roughly 35 degrees or so. Keep that stone right handy there. Here's the baling pliers. So we'll come right up on there, right at my bend. And then I'm going to bend this over. Move the pliers. Bend it right through, because that's where I'm going to be ending up doing my wrapping. But I'm not wrapping yet until I put our stone on. So, stone's going to go on. And I remember how I said I want to be careful not to break that, right? Yeah, there we go. And then, now that I've got my stone on, go ahead and grab this, my chain no pliers. Move that bead out of my way. And we'll put a few wraps. Oh, geez, all that's off camera. Isn't that nice? All right. Well, I'm not going to remake it on camera here. Pull that down. And I'll go ahead and just make a few wraps there. And I'm going to come back with my flush cutters. Cut right there. And there's our swivel functioning. Isn't that nice? All right. And then our final step here. Whew. Taking quite a while, huh? All right, here we go. Final step. Split ring pliers, split ring. So, real easy to do. Just line up that little hook right there, pinch down. These came out of one of my old tackle boxes. Put my wire on there, remove the pliers completely, roll my split wing through. All right. That's the gist of it there. And we're going to give it a little bit of a brush just to make sure we clean off any extra debris. I got a rotary tool here with a little bit of a fuzzy bit. I remember, as I've said, I don't want to do anything drastic to the front here because I want to keep these fossils and they will polish out. I have learned this the hard way. So for this piece here, the front is getting nothing other than a little bit of a toothbrush and maybe a little rub down with some felt here. So I got a little piece of felt, take the dust off of it. And I like that piece of turquoise in there too. There's our swivel. Okay. Well, there's our keychain. I really do appreciate anybody who watched this video today. I'd extra appreciate it if you would click the link on our Etsy site, go to our Etsy and take a look at what we have. And if you like something, please do purchase. Keep in mind that everything is handmade. I don't do any computer routing or laser work or anything like that. As you've seen this today, I use my hands to make everything. And anything you all purchase or any likes and shares on the video, everything is appreciated. So thank you so much for watching today. Like and subscribe, and have a great day.